Hanji, welcome to another episode of the Not in the Clouds podcast. Jello, what have you guys consumed, watched, read this week?
Well, we had the Basant Mela on Sunday, which was really nice. We got to hear all of the youth performing Gurbani Kirtan. We got to hear some of the Halleda Diwan, which was really good. In terms of what I've been reading a book by Devinder Singh Gill, Nandir Tabad. It's something I've read previously, but I wanted to go over it again. I think sometimes with these things, you notice new things as your perspective changes. Devinder Singh Gill, through an analysis of Guru Gobind Singh Ji's life, notices how Guru Gobind Singh Ji's life is always connected with the different rivers. So whether they're looking at Patna Sahib, whether they're looking at when then Sadhguruji comes to Nandir, or then when Sadhguruji goes to Hazro, it is saying that all of these different happenings are connected to Jal. And he also connects it to the happenings of the Sajjana of the Khalsa Panth, how that is also connected to Jal and where Sadhguruji collects that Jal from. So I thought the way he connected that all together and then connected to that, then how Guru Gobind Singh Ji then meets Guru Balak Singh Ji, I thought it was really beautiful the way he connected all the dots together.
I had the chance to go out to Patna for about a day, 2 days. And there isn't a sthan. There's a gurdwara. I'm not sure. I can't remember the history of it, but it's right on the Ganga.
Yeah, Ganga. Ganga te Kanare te, like where Guru Gobind Singh is giving darshan to Pandit Shivdat in the form of Krishan.
Gurdwara, I just remembered. It's called Kangan Ghat. It's where they threw the Kangan. And that area is so peaceful.
Okay.
Just that bit. The rest of Patna is nuts. I mean, I haven't been anywhere else in Patna that's that quiet. It was extremely quiet there. But Asa, what have you been consuming this week?
I've been on Instagram a lot this week.
Not you've cancelled TikTok.
Yeah. I came across this. So like you go through the search, explore on Instagram. I came across for whatever reason Everest hikes. So people hiking on top of Everest. Sherpa called Kami Rita has summited Everest 28 times.
Wow.
Yeah, nuts. Just so incredibly inspiring. But then also at the same time, why are people funding this ego campaign of I can get to the top of the world?
I guess for us it's different, right? Because I guess when you start reading Gurbani and you start reading what Mahapurakh and their perspective of life, I think naturally our perspective of life changes, right? And we become very, I guess, turned off, like where Sadhguruji is saying all of the ras of the world become fikr to you, and only this one ras you start chasing it. But for them, that ras is that chase for a sense of achievement, right? And I guess that is the peak of that in that subject area, or whatever you want to call it. That's the peak. I guess then after that, there's a question of then after you do that, what do you do next? So maybe it's actually a humbling experience that once they've done it, there's a sense that you want to achieve something. Once you do it, what is next?
It's probably metaphorical because everyone's climbing a mountain as well daily, right? So it could be a struggle getting into work, getting through the workday for some, but somebody else's struggle is later on. So they're looking forward to that struggle going up Kilimanjaro. It's interesting.
There's also that concept of like life is you enjoy the journey and not the destination. Maybe it's not about summiting Everest. Maybe it's the journey of getting there.
I watched Kung Fu Panda 3.
Oh, great film.
I haven't watched it. I've been meaning
Is that the one where he finds his family again?
Yeah. It's the best one, honestly, because how he gets the community together to root for him and actually find their goal, their aim, their objective in life, and makes them do what they're good at and makes them do it to the best of their ability. I thought that's pretty cool.
This is a new one.
It's 2016, so it's pretty old. We can swiftly move on from there to what we're talking about today. And I've got a question for both of you guys today. Is the world true or false?
I know me and Asap are on different camps, but yeah, let's go through it.
So which camp do you sit in, Asa? Is the world true or false?
I am saying it's false.
You're saying it's false?
the way that I really like to visualize this is, and I think I've seen it in Gurbani visualized this way or described this way as well, is that we've all been to like Alton Towers or Drayton Manor or some kind of theme park, right? And that's a milla. And in this milla, you have when you need a map to try and get around, or you get a guide, right, to help you navigate which rides are the best, because you want to make the most of your 24 hours that you get in that day, right? In this milla is like this world in that you're there temporarily. You can choose which rides you go on. You can choose how you navigate through it. And on this roller coaster, so there's a roller coaster in this fun fair, in this Midler, you can strap yourself in, you can have a really good time, you can go no hands and scream your lungs out, or you can choose to clench the person next to you, dig your nails in, scream and shout to make the ride stop, right? But regardless of the fact, that ride will come to an end at some point. And Sadhguru Nanak Dev Ji, for me, encapsulates this ride so well that Ja rehna nahi at the jug, ta kayat garab handiya. When that ride finishes, there's no way that your ego will let you ride again. You've got to go back into the queue, wait your turn, so that you can get back on. Manda kasana akhiya, but akhare ho bujiya. The point of this ride was to look introspectively, was to look within, that all these emotions that you're feeling whilst you're going through this emotional roller coaster of life are all coming from inside. We sort of convince ourselves that if I'm feeling sad, it's because of an event or because of somebody. If I'm feeling happy, we attach our emotions to other people and to external things, whereas those emotions are being produced inside. And the reason I think it's false, because at one point, it will all finish. By the end of the day, that mela will come to a close.
The difficult thing is, I think what we're both going to say is along the same lines, but I'm going to go at it at a different angle. Satya, 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 sabat kina. Meaning, whatever we see is true, is true, is true. And who has done it, he is true, he's true, he's true. And we have to connect these dots together in that the creator who has created us, his sarup, his being is Sat Chit Anand. True is his form, he is a form of consciousness, and his being and his state is of Anand, of bliss. And so if his state is of truth, and he is the one that has created us, so where that Qudrat is within, how can we call that false? To deny what we are seeing would be wouldn't be correct, right? So I know that I'm talking to Asa Singh, I know that I'm talking to Sarab Singh. The other side of it is, I think what Guru Nanak Dev Ji is trying to say, and Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji is trying to say, is do not join your ultimate attachment or your ultimate aim to something that is nashwant. And I think that's where the whole false element comes in, where Sachi Pashi is saying, Chinta taki kijiye jo anhoni hoye, eh marg sansar ko nanak thir nahi koi. Meaning that nobody's here permanently.
If I take the English meanings, and I'm looking through Gurbani and looking at the English meanings, there's so many places where it's talking about this world ocean and world-like ocean, and the ocean, the aim is to get to the other side of it. Now, I was thinking, now, if you're swimming in an ocean, you're in the middle of nowhere. At the beginning, you know where you kind of are, right? Because you've been dropped into the ocean, wherever it is. But to get to the other side, either you'd need to be able to see it, or you'd need to be able to, you've been guided by somebody and they said, okay, for 2 days, keep swimming in this direction. And then there's the tolerance that your body has. So has your body been conditioned to get to the other side? Now, if you take that into context of Sansara Samunde Tar Govinde, and they're giving you all these tools, or we've been given all these tools through Gurbani, but it's that illusion of how big or small the distance is and the journey is. The next line in that Shabad is interesting. Ma ajan, Janat Tarabin Ajana. I don't even know how to swim.
When life is going well for us, we think everything is all well and good, we're happy. And when life is not going well for us, when we do experience struggles, then automatically and what we're trying to talk about is sansar, is that our sansar, our outlook on everything then becomes like everything is suffering. What is there beyond this world? And I think slowly, as we've stopped asking ourselves that question, there are more and more it becomes less relevant. And then us saying that the world is false becomes irrelevant because everybody is perceiving it to be true. So I think we're going to have to...
What's this question that we should be asking ourselves?
I think there's multiple. If we go back to Guru Nanak Dev Ji's time, some of the first questions were what everybody seemed to be obsessed with from a spiritual and philosophical perspective is how did the creation start? Who started it? When did it start? I think it's an innate inquisitiveness of the human mind to want to know where we've come from. Naturally makes us inquisitive of, I have this mind that is conscious, and this consciousness is something that is always with me. What is beyond this? And I think when you start asking yourself what is beyond this, naturally I guess the engineering aspect of our mind makes us reverse engineer it and think, where did it start?
And Sadhguru Arjan Dev Ji writes, a child can never hope to understand the birth of his father. And instead, Sagal Paroi Apne Sut, he has woven the world onto his own rosary, that he exists within his creation.
Yeah, so it's Guru Nanak Dev Ji that's saying, Kavana Sovela Vakata Kavana. Kavana Thit Kavana Var, Kavana Siruti Mahu Kavana, Jit Hoa Akar. Where what was the time, what was that moment, what was the date, what was that time where the creation was created? What was that season? What was the month when the universe was created? Even the Qazis who study the Quran, even they have not found the time when the universe was created. Meaning, forget all of this attempt that you are trying to make to understand when the universe was created. Only he knows. You will need to connect with him, and then you can understand that.
How do we know where we are right now isn't a dream?
I think that's why Sadhguruji uses the word metaphorically, that this world is true as well as false. That if you become attached to it, then everything that happens around you has an influence on you. And this would mean that anything that's happening within your family, anything that's happening within your work life, anything that is not going according to what you think should be happening is going to cause issues for you, or is going to make you emotionally upset. And true, there is cases where it is just to be emotionally upset, according to our perception of things. Where I was going back to at the start, your sansar can either be everything is great, or your sansar everything is terrible. Where I think that when you rise above that, I guess, Baji, you would have that same dream and you would be indifferent about it.
And that's Gyan, isn't it? That's the enlightenment. This is just a dream.
Exactly. And I think with that Gyan, you become enlightened. With that Gyan, you become Mukta.
I have to ask you both, because I don't understand what Gyan is.
Yeah, I think that there's two types of Gyan in a general sense. So there's Granthik Gyan, so Gyan that you can read or that you can understand. And there's Atmik Gyan. And I think what we're talking about is essentially Atmik Gyan. Man tu jyot swarup hai, apna mool pashan. Meaning that once you've understood that mool, that you are an essence of that jyot swarup, then you've achieved that level of Gyan. You've achieved Atmik Gyan. The Qudrat that is around you, you start seeing that oneness within everything. Then that mitti or that kand that is around you, which is causing you to be attached to the wrong things, that breaks. So where Sadhguruji says, Gyan Anjan Gurdiya Agyana Andhera Binas, meaning that then darkness, it fades away with the ointment of Gyan. Sadhguruji is saying that there was a void, right? Yeah. We cannot say in our philosophy that there was nothing. Right?
Yeah.
Because where it says there, na din ran, na chandra, na suraj, sun samadhi laida. He was there, but the Akala Purakh was there. He was in supreme poise. Right? And then from that one point, everything was created. But
But again, even that in itself, Akal Purakh, so the formless, the
Timeless.
Yeah, where like Guru Gobind Singh, what Guru Gobind Singh is saying essentially, Chakkar chehna ar barna jaat ar paat na hena jah, roop rang ar rekh pe ko kahu keh na sakat kah, achal moorat anubhav prakas amitoj ke hijja.
And there's a realm of experience, a realm of growth. And then on the other side of that is illusion and Maya, what we started this conversation with. Now, in terms of the illusion and I think Joan's saying, we said this earlier today, where there's a parda. Now, explain what that parda is. Why is there a parda around us? And that's like agyanta, that's your haneri of darkness.
Gurbani says again and again that you're not going to understand things just by reading. And you're not going to understand things just by trying to gain loads of granth, like what we were saying before, granthak again, where Guru Nanak Dev Ji prioritizes this experience. And I think the word that we use is jigyasu, where you realize that there is this parda around me. There's something that is limiting me to understand who I am.
So in English, a parda is a curtain. So it's almost like being in a play where, the curtains are raised and lowered.
Exactly. And what we're saying, I guess, is that the Guru blesses you with gyan, but in this context, it's more of an upadesh.
At times, it feels like I don't know what my mission is, or I don't remember my mission. That's me personally. So how do we get this personal mission? Because you mentioned it's personal.
When we was talking to Pali, he was telling us himself, he did not have an interest in doing kirtan. But Sadhguruji, through even just looking at them and being in their presence, it made them realize that this is something that from an atmic level, from deep within them, is something they wanted to make progress in. Right?
Yeah.
And the Guru, understanding their student, made it such that they were motivated, maybe not at the angle of just music, but on multiple levels. And one of those can be for receiving the blessings and the happiness of your Guru. That's one angle. And then the other thing I think is innate within some people. But this is why we need the Sadh Sangat, where in the Sadh Sangat, you're going to have so many different types of people. And with the blessings of Sadhu Di Sangat, they're going to tell you and bless you with what you're innately good at. And I don't think we know it personally. In some cases, I think we do. But in some cases, somebody needs to tell you or help you develop personally.
There are so many different schools of thought in this world. There's you can choose to be an atheist. We're all typically we're born into a family, and we sort of have to live the tenets of whatever that family follows. So we were all born into Sikh families. So really not without any choice, we were given this path. And that mission then essentially is, this is your one opportunity, to become one with the Almighty. We've heard that so many times. This is your golden opportunity. This is the Willy Wonka golden ticket. I had this experience in India where I was eating gunne. And because it's outdoors, and it was warm weather, summer weather, eating ganne chupre sige, and the ras was falling onto the floor, onto a thali. We had a thali to collect all the sugarcane fibers, the ones you've got the juice out, the fibers, they're collecting them in a panda, and there's flies everywhere. And it got to a point where it was just swarming with flies, and you couldn't get them away fast enough. There was one fly that stood out because, as you were waving them away, it wouldn't go. It got used to the fact that this person's waving, and I've got no danger, right? And it got to a point where the thali is literally below my chin, and I've got my finger on top of this fly. If I wanted to, it was resting on top of the fly. If you could imagine that, if I wanted to, I could squish that fly. Right? It did not care about death because it was so focused on this sweetness of this sugarcane juice. It completely forgotten that it was in danger. This is sansar, basically. This is us in our daily lives. As a Sikh, and also I was watching Gyani Maskeen ji, and they're talking about Sadhguru Gobind Singh Ji Zafarnama. Yeah. And in Sadhguru Gobind Singh Ji Zafarnama, they reference Firdausi,
Hanji, yeah.
Right? And he's asked to distill the whole of the world's history into one single book. And after many iterations, after 6 months, he gets it down to 10 books. After 3 more months, he distills it down to 3 books. And then after so much effort and time, years, he gets it down to 1 book.
Yeah.
And as the emperor of Iran is dying on his deathbed, says, I've regret the fact that I've not been able to read this compilation that you spent years of your life working on.
Wow.
Can you give me a summary? And Ferdowsi says, we come crying, we live crying, and we die crying. Without Guru Nanak Dev Ji, without spiritually enlightened people in this world, this sansar is filled with suffering, ego, and hypocrisy. If it wasn't for people like, without Ravi Singh and his humanitarian work, without Kabir Ji, without Bhagavad Ravidas Ji, this world is just filled with suffering. Without the Buddha, without Jesus Christ, there's nothing in this world other than suffering.
Alexander the Great. It's said that he asked for 3 things on his deathbed. And the first 2, I don't understand why. But the first one is, my physicians must carry my coffin when I'm dead. So that I don't understand why he done that. And then the second thing he says is, I desire that when my coffin is transported to my grave, the path leading to the graveyard shall display the wealth that I collected. That one I kind of get. And then the third one says, my third and last wish is that both my hands hang out of my coffin. And what I take from that, and what was said in various sort of podcasts that I've listened to that have referenced this, is that he won't be able to take any of that wealth with him. So what in number 2, he wouldn't be able to take any of that wealth.
The first one, so where Sikandar is saying, I want to be carried on 4 shoulders.
He asks for his doctors to carry him.
The reason for that, if I remember correctly, is that not even a doctor can stop death.
Ah, that's cool. Actually, yeah, I didn't.
And the other perspective I've also heard about that is, even once you're dead, you can't carry yourself, regardless of how strong you might have been in your life.
Yeah,
there's no way once that you're dead, you can't carry yourself. There's no like you spent your whole time training an ego. I'm going to get this, muscle body. Yeah. But when death comes, you're going to be carried on 4 shoulders, regardless.
So I'm just going to stay round then, right?
Build the Buddha body. Buddha body summer ready.
Ever ready. We've come full circle. So we've started where we're talking about, whether this world is false or true. But at the end, it doesn't matter what we take from this world, right? So
they're both valid perspectives, aren't they? Like depending, as you say, depending on the gyan or the perspective that you want to leverage. Kud Raja, Kud Parja, Kud Sab Sansar. But then on the other flip side, it's Sache Tere Khand, Sache Brahmand.
Exactly.
Both perspectives are correct.
Ooh. So to me, what stands out with Sansar is having that non-dualistic approach. And I find that difficult because I feel that I have dualities at times. And that's the trip that I'm going through, or the journey that I'm going down. What Jawan Singh was saying, and how you tie your love into it, and another word that came to mind when you were saying that was devotion. And when you have devotion towards something, because you unequivocally, you undoubtedly love that person, that thing, or that entity, that timeless entity as well. I think that can come across as a passion, but I think it's still more than that.
This conversation has been a journey as well, but I'm still convinced. Well, I agree that in this roller coaster of life, our attachments are sometimes misplaced, which causes us unnecessary emotion. And if there's anything that we can take away from this sansar, from this world, is the beauty, is the aspect of love and compassion, and these qualities that exist as the truth. because other than that, there's nothing else here other than suffering.
The ultimate aim is to become a Brahmgyani, meaning once you've got that understanding that we are not going to remain here.
How does Guru Nanak's perspective benefit us?
I think the reason the way how Sadhguru Nanak Dev Ji's philosophy helps us, and this is something one of my white mates asked me, because we were talking about Guru Nanak Dev Ji and Sikh philosophy, and he goes to me, it's really great that you have Guru Nanak Dev Ji and you've got Sikh, you've got this philosophy of trying to unite with the one, but what's like how has it actually benefited your life? And I was like, that's such a good point, because we say we have Guru Nanak Dev Ji, we have Guru Nanak Dev Ji's philosophy, but then people still have preferential treatment of boys over girls. We still can't accept the fact that all of the things that we've spoken about today, Bura pala kaho kisno ke hiye sagle ji tumhare, we still have subconscious biases. The way that Guru Nanak Dev Ji's philosophy is beneficial is if you're introspective, not pointing fingers, not doing that whole exercise of, well, this is what Sadhguru Nanak Dev Ji's philosophy says, so you should do this. It's the other way around, where if you're pointing a finger at somebody, there's three fingers pointing back at you. And I think that's, for me, how Sadhguru Nanak Dev Ji's philosophy should be used as medicine.
And the thumb is pointing to the clouds because he's not in the clouds.
I love it. That's absolutely right.
In wrapping up this, what's one fact that you learnt this week?
So I've been playing a game on my phone and I've learnt a new fact. Do you, before I tell you what it is, do you guys have any fears?
It's not something I get scared of, but I feel uncomfortable in crowds. Crowds where you feel that there's like
not enough claustrophobia, right? There's a word for somebody. Actually, so what you said there, Juan. So a person who fears open spaces.
Yeah.
What do you think the word for that is? If somebody is scared of tight spaces is claustrophobia.
Yeah.
What's the opposite of claustrophobia?
Openophobia.
It's even funnier than that.
Go on.
It's agoraphobic.
You're joking.
I'm going to bring it up.
You have to share your screen.
It's agoraphobic.
Oh my god. So my fun fact was that in Japanese carpentry, there's a way of producing these old, like you see those old school temples and their buildings. I think they're even loads of the buildings right now. I was watching a documentary where this massive temple, they take it apart piece by piece and then they put it back together. And this is all using a technique called sashimono. And it's essentially producing buildings and pieces of carpentry without the need of glue, and the techniques that they use to put the pieces of wood together with so much precision and then put in extra pieces to have a friction fit, but then also be able to remove it. I thought that was really interesting, and it kind of aligns. When I was watching it, I was like, oh, that's really beneficial for sword Maryada as an example.
I got a question for you guys. Where do beavers live?
In the tree.
No, man. Have you watched no cartoons?
You know this?
Isn't that what they do? They make a hole inside the tree and then live in it.
You're thinking of squirrels.
No. Or maybe I'm thinking of hedgehogs.
I mean, it's a common misconception that beavers live in dams.
I thought they made the dams. I didn't know they lived in them.
No, they don't. That's a misconception.
Yeah, it's a misconception. They live in... Beavers live in lodges. Chalo. That was an interesting journey, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in and listening to the podcast, and hopefully catch you next week.